Hey, it's Rick here. We're back with part 3 of the armory winding series. I'm going to go over a few things before we get started on the armory winding. Um, I have this arm ready to start winding. It is, cleaned up, ready to go, no winds on it. Got the comb positioned at about 30 degrees timing where I want it, and that's where we're going to start at. You're going to need a few things when you do this. Simple thing is you're going to need, well, something to this extent. I like using a Q-tip. I pull the soft side off. It still leaves kind of like a soft, this is the soft kind of wooden type deal, just something soft here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to need something to kind of ease those winds down in the grooves between the stacks. You want to be gentle when you're doing this, and you want something soft. The next thing you're going to need is, of course, some wire. This is actually what I'm using right now. 30 gauge CMS magnetics wire. Amazon, it's like $12 for a roll of it. And after you get a few parts and you get ready to start winding, what you're going to do is you're going to proceed with the process of how to wind this arm. So, a couple things I think I said in one of my other videos, or maybe part 1 of my other video, is less winds on the arm, more RPM. More winds on the arm, usually more torque. And depending on your track, you're going to figure out what works best for you. A lot of your American-made arms will actually tell you what they have on them. Like this arm, just a 16D arm, 70 turns of 30 gauge. That is actually the gauge we got to put on this arm. That's what Parmas come with, is the 30 gauge. Don't worry about the stacks and the degrees. What I wanted to go over on this arm is the 70 turns. So the 70 turns on that arm, now, it's probably important to show you this. This is actually a 501 type arm, American arm. The stacks are larger. So 70 turns on this arm is not going to be the same as 70 turns on this arm in the distance of wire. Because this stack, or these stacks, are shorter on a Super 16D or a 502 than a 501. So, therefore, you're going to have to do some work and figure out how much wire you actually want on the arm. Like I said, you want a high RPM motor, less winds. If you've heard, or slot car racers refer to them as somebody's got a hot arm in or something like that, that usually means that they've either dewound the arm or rewound it with less winds than it came from the factory. And those are typically what's referred to as your hot arms. So that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to start wrapping or winding this arm. Now, I'm not going to do the, whole video. This is not something you're going to do in 5 minutes or so. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wrap. I'm going to start with the edge of the wire here. In the end, we're going to connect or solder that wire onto this post right here. Doesn't really matter which one you start with. You just want to make sure your timing is where you want it before you start. Because once you get that wire, up here, I always use a little bit of slack. Like I'll have the wire up in here, and I can always trim it down and set my timing and solder it where I need to. So when you start this wrap, start up here. What we're going to do is we are going to wrap this in a clockwise motion. So you're going to need the wire to start here at this post. leave you some slack here, and we're going to run it down on this side of the arm and under it and over it. And every time you come around, that is one turn. Like the arm I showed you a little bit ago had 70 turns. That means it's got 70 wraps around this one stack. You have to wrap this one stack in the same direction, however many turns you want, before you move to the next stack. When you get, let's just say we put 70 turns on this. When you get 70 turns on this, you're going to take on that last turn. I've just crossed here at 70. We've got this stack filled up. We're going to come up around this prong and down this stack and wrap 70 turns around this stack. Now, when we do that, when we get the 70 turns around this stack, on that 70th turn, we're going to move over to the next prong, wrap it around it, and go straight to the third stack and wrap 70 turns around this stack. When we get to that 70th turn, we're going to take it and end up back on our first prong and come up here and solder the wires. You know, you got the wire you started with and you got the wire you finished with. We're going to solder them onto this prong. After that, we're going to check our timing, or you can check your timing before you solder it to make sure you got it where you want to. We're going to go around and solder these other two prongs. That being said, I'm going to start it. I'm going to wrap one of the stacks in the amount of turns that I've chose to, and I'll come back and show you what I do on the loop and start of the second stack.